All right, we are going to get started with our pasta and bean soup. This is more of a traditional Italian soup, pasta e fagioli. It is often seen, it's very similar to the pasta fagioli soup that's used at Olive Garden, but this has a couple twists on it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to put oil in my pan. We just finished doing the pasta casserole, and I'm going to use the same pan. I've rinsed it out, but I haven't really scrubbed it just because I'm mostly using the same ingredients. It's not unusual for me when I'm using things that are similar, ingredients that are similar, for me to go ahead and make 2 or 3 meals at a time. And so I just finished the pasta. I'm going to be using the same basic ingredients, so I'm going to go ahead and make my pasta and beans as well. If you're doing low carb, depending on which type of eating plan you're following, you may or may not be allowed beans. You most definitely won't be allowed pasta. Again, you can use other substitutes for this. You can also add to this as well in additional ingredients that aren't on the list. Just kind of play with it and make it yours, or you can do it just like it's written for the first time while you're trying to figure it all out. So I have my 1/4 cup of cooking oil here in the pan. This is again, I'm using my Dutch oven. It is cast iron and it is ceramic coated. It has a lid, so I can just transfer it just like this to the oven, or I can, if I need to, just transfer this entire pan to the refrigerator. I have my 1/4 cup of oil in here. I'm going to start with my 1/2 cup, or this is 1 cup of diced onions. Okay, let me drain some water off. Here is my 1 cup of diced onions, all those veggies that I prepped the other day. I transferred to Ziploc baggies that were pre-measured. They stored very easily in my refrigerator that way. Made it nice and smooth. I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 tablespoons of garlic, minced garlic. Again, you can mince your own garlic. Or you can let someone else do it for you. If you happen to have a handy sous chef that will do that, by all means, allow them to do that for you. So I have in here a 1/4 cup of cooking oil. I have my onions and my minced garlic. I want to give those flavors a really good chance to meld together. We're going to let those caramelize a little bit, let them reduce and blend their flavors together. While these are working on blending, I'm going to go ahead and add my salt and my pepper. So if you were making this with substitutions, we were talking about low carb, you could use your zucchini noodles, you could add extra meat, whatever you need to do to make this work for you. Just know that the more you change, the less it's going to taste like what you think it's supposed to. So if you're expecting it to taste like that Olive Garden soup, you're going to need to stick really close to the recipe. But again, you can still make wonderful tasting, healthy foods foods that meet your diet and your needs by making the right substitutions. Alright, what a nice color on those. I'm going to be adding my oregano and basil and also let that steam and render into those oils and onions and garlic that are going here. And that's just dried basil and oregano from my garden. You can use the grocery store stuff too. You can use fresh stuff as well. Whatever works for you. Whatever you have on hand. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add my carrots and celery here. Want to give those carrots a few extra minutes to cook and absorb some of that heat before I put the other ingredients in. So I have several canned ingredients in this version of the soup. I don't usually use canned ingredients very often. This is one of the things that makes this recipe so fast, is being able to use these canned ingredients. You can use dried beans as well. You're just going to need to make sure that they're prepared ahead of time. Or if you're going to do this in an Instapot or pressure cooker of some kind, then you're going to want to add 1.5 cups to 2 cups of water for every cup of dry beans that you use. So here's my crushed tomatoes. Get those going. I like to stir after each ingredient that I add, so I just have a chance to really get a good melding and combining of those flavors so they get incorporated really well into the rest of what's going on. Alright, the next is going to be 6 to 8 cups of vegetable broth. Now your vegetable broth you can make on your own, or it can be purchased broth. I like to save the end pieces of some of my vegetables when I'm cutting and prepping and put them in a freezer bag, throw them in the freezer, and when I get a full enough bag, I'll toss them into a stock pot of water and steam up boil up some nice vegetable stock. But I also have chickens, so sometimes my chickens get all of those extra pieces as well. All right, I'm putting my beans in now. This is a can of Great Northern beans. Next, I'm gonna put in some garbanzo beans, or chickpeas, they're called. And I'm just kind of letting my sauce simmer a little bit. I turned my heat way down, letting all of those herbs and onions and flavors just blend in while they have a chance. I do drain my beans before I put them in, but I don't wash them. And I mean, I don't rinse them, I don't run water through them. I just drain off some of the liquid. I found that some of the starches in the beans will sometimes thicken my soups faster than I want them to. It's the only reason I drain the liquid off. And this last one is the cannellini beans, white kidney beans. And put those in. smells so good. It smells so homey and earthy. All right, after this, we're going to add our 6 to 8 cups of vegetable broth and our ground meat. I'm actually going to put extra ground meat in this. This is for 8 ounces of ground pork or Italian sausage. Because this is usually our meal and not a starter to our meal, I will sometimes double or even triple the amount of meat going in here. All right, so I have all this lovely meat, just mixing that in. I'm gonna add my broth and my pasta, my dry pasta. All right, this is some homemade vegetable stock that I have. Again, you can buy this at most grocery stores. Don't feel like you need to make your own stock. This is about 7 ounces of stock, or 7 cups of stock, and 3 cups of water. So about 10 cups of liquid I added there. All right, so now you can see it's very, very soupy. Where it looked so thick earlier, we now have that soup consistency going. Let me add my pasta to this, and then I'm going to turn up my heat, put the lid on it, and we'll come back and check on it in about 30 minutes or so. This is the pasta that I'm adding to it. I'm going to add about a cup of it dry, which it'll double, so it'll be about 2 cups worth once it doubles. It's these cute little screwy looking things. My little bowl here is half a cup, and I'm going to use it to measure out. All right. I'm going to stir those guys in there so those little noodles are going to soak up some of this liquid as it cooks here. We will be back and check on it after about 30 minutes. So we are back. It's been a good 30 minutes that we've been letting this bubble. We're gonna check on it. This is a really great recipe to throw together in the morning, stick in a crock pot for the day, or even to have like what we have going here just on the stove top. You can see those noodles have puffed up and absorbed some of that liquid. I have my bay leaves in here. I don't know that I had them in during the first part of the video, but while it was here simmering, I was able to get those bay leaves in. They just add a nice earthy, smoky kind of flavor to it without that acidity. So this soup, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to let it cool down, and then we will put it in the fridge. Actually, it gets better as it sets. So we're going to let this set for a couple days. We'll probably have it for dinner later on this week with some nice crusty bread. And I do have a really quick and easy 4-ingredient overnight sourdough that I may do a little video on later this week, and we'll eat it with this bread, or with this soup that we have going. But this is the pasta and bean soup. Super easy, wonderful flavors, nice and hearty. Like I said, you can do it without the pasta, add your zucchini instead. You can add more meat, you can add less meat, you can add more vegetables to it. whatever you want to do, just kind of make it your own. But this is just something that we really enjoy. It is a nice, thick and heavy, stick to your ribs, as my husband would say, kind of meal. Hanky, come here. So if you hear jingling or barking in the background, it's probably this guy right here. Say hi. That's Henry. Henry's always right beside me everywhere I go. You'll even see him riding in the car with me, sitting in the seat next to me. He's my little buddy. I say little, he's like 60 pounds. He's licking my hand right now. But anyway, so thank you for joining us. This is the pasta and bean soup. I hope you all give it a try. Tell me what kind of variations you add to it. Tell me how much you love it. And we will see you guys again.